Only YouTube can. Only YouTube people can drop that. Yeah. Actually, because of weather, I'm planning to take offline only, but people will come to. Yeah, hi all. Good morning. Please confirm my voice is audible or not.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Okay, so sorry for delay, Anil. There is some miscommunication between the admin team, so that's the reason offline class got delayed. Actually, I'm seeing only 2 people in the offline. Only 2 people came, and all the remaining folks, most of the folks are in the online only. Okay, that's fine. Okay. So, as part of previous session, if you remember, when we are talking about the GCP services, we are discussing about airflow. So within the airflow, in the previous class, we discussed about some sensor operators. And other than sensor operators, we discussed about airflow variables. And other than that, we discussed about how to submit multiple tasks and end-to-end flow by using data proc jobs. So these are the some of the topics we covered as part of our previous session when we are discussing about the GCP services. I know from last 4 or 5 days onwards, we are discussing about data warehousing concepts and Python concepts only. But before that, when we are discussing about the GCP services, in the airflow, we discussed about all these topics, sensor operators, airflow variables, and we discussed about how to submit the multiple tasks, and we discussed about end-to-end flow by using data proc jobs. Okay. Now in the airflow, we are having few pending topics and just will discuss about that. With that, we'll start with our pops up. So in the airflow, we are having one of the topic called as XCOM. Actually, if you remember, in the airflow, we created multiple tasks, and in between those tasks, we defined dependencies. When we created the DAG, in that DAG, we created the multiple tasks, and in between those tasks, we defined the multiple dependencies. Now, as part of execution, what will happen is, as part of execution of DAG, every DAG will run independently, or I can able to say every task in the DAG will run independently. And there is no communication between different tasks in DAG. So communication in the sense, if you are going to define the dependency, then the dependency will come into the picture as part of execution of the DAG. Here communication is nothing but, for example, task 1 populating one variable value, and task 2 populating one more variable value. Now, in between these two variables, we are not having any kind of relationship, or we are not going to have any kind of communication. So we are having the two tasks, for example, with the help of the task, we are getting one output, and with the help of the task 2, we are going to get the one more kind of output. In between these two outputs, we are not having any kind of communications, or we can able to say, we cannot able to share data between two different tasks as part of execution of DAG. So when we are going to execute the DAG with the help of the multiple tasks, what is going to happen? We cannot able to share the data between the task 1 to task 2, or we cannot able to share between the data from task 2 to task 1. But for example, as per the requirement, if you want to share data between two different tasks. In that situation, we have to use XCOM. So XCOM is nothing but it's a kind of a shortcut name. We can able to call it as a cross communication only. But where this cross communication is going to happen, this cross communication is going to happen between the two different tasks. Whenever we are going to create the DAG, what is happening? We are creating the multiple tasks. In between the task, if you want to share the data, we cannot able to share the data directly because each and every task is running as an independent task as part of our DAG execution. But as per the requirement, if you want to share data between the two different tasks only, in that situation, within the Airflow, we are having the concept called as a XCOM. XCOM is a kind of a shortcut name. If you want to see the detailed name, we can able to call it as a cross communication. But in between, what we are going to maintain the communication, if you want to maintain the cross communication between two different tasks in the DAG, in the situation, here we can able to use the concept called as a XCOM. With the help of the XCOM, we can able to share the data between two different tasks by depending on our requirement. I mean, the same way here for the purpose of doing this operation, we are having two methods which we can able to call it as XCOM underscore push and XCOM underscore pull. So these two are the variables we are having in the Airflow under the XCOM only. XCOM push we are using to push the variables, or we can able to say to send the variables. And coming to XCOM pull, we are going to use for the purpose of to pull the variable, or we can able to call it as a to consume the variables. So for that reason, we are going to use the XCOM. This is the one of the concept which we have discussed as part of our previous class. That's the reason just I'm informing you. So in the Airflow, we are having the concept called as a XCOM. If there is no requirement to maintain the to share the data between two different tasks only, then no need to go for the XCOM. But by depending on the requirement, you are creating the multiple tasks, but in between the tasks, you want to share the data as per the requirement. In such kind of situations, we can able to go for the XCOM. Within the XCOM, we are going to see the two different methods, XCOM underscore push and XCOM underscore pull. By using push, what we can do here, we can able to push the data to the other task. By using the pull, what we can do here, we can able to consume the data or consume the variables from the other task. So whenever we are having such kind of requirement, we can able to go for the XCOM. In the same way, here we are having the one more concept called as a custom modules. So within the Airflow, we are having one more concept called as a custom modules only. Now tell me, as part of Airflow, what we are writing? In the Airflow, we are writing DAGs. So with the help of the DAGs only, we are running all our jobs in the Airflow. And what is the DAG indirectly? It's nothing but our Python scripting, or we can able to say it's a kind of a Python programming. So we are writing a one Python program, but instead of calling it as a Python program, we are simply calling it as a DAG. Now, for example, I am having one Python program like this. In this Python program, we are having some code. And my requirement here is I am creating dag1.py. In this DAG, I want to use whatever the code present in sample.py file. So see here, we are having the two different Python files only. So one we are calling it as a dag1.py, other one we are calling it as a kind of a normal Python script. It's a normal Python script. Now, in this script, we are having some code. Now, my requirement is I want to write the dag1.py code, which is nothing but in the dag1, I want to write the Python code. But in this Python code, what I want to do here is whatever the code which is present in the sample1.py, I want to use that code as part of my dag1.py, which is nothing but I want to reuse the code only. Whatever the code already we are having in the sample.py, that code I want to use in the one more DAG. So, which is nothing but instead of rewriting the code, I want to reuse code from one Python file to other Python file. So this is the requirement. I want to read the data from one Python file to, I want to read the code from one Python file to other Python file, because here, if you are going to perform this kind of operation, no need to write the code again in the dag1.py. For example, in the sample.py, I'm having 100 lines of code, or I'm having 1000 lines of code. Now, as part of this dag1.py also, I need to use all these 1000 lines of the code. Instead of writing again all these 1000 lines of the code, what we can do here, simply whatever the code we are having in the sample.py, that entire code we can able to reuse in the dag1.py and for the purpose of reusing this code, we are going to use the concept called as custom modules. So what we are doing here, for the purpose of reusing the code, we are going to use the concept called as nothing but custom modules. And if you remember, as part of writing the Airflow program earlier, see, tell me what is the purpose of these lines? We are giving from Airflow import models. Then we are giving from airflow.providers.google.cloud.operators.dataprog. What all are these? Do you remember? We are giving from airflow.providers and we are giving them from airflow.utils.dates. What all are these? All these are nothing but packages, or we can able to call it as a modules. But tell me, all these modules we have written or Python Airflow is giving? All
Airflow
modules are given by Airflow. That's the reason we cannot able to call it as a custom modules. These are the modules given by the Airflow by default. We are using these modules as part of our program. But here what I'm telling, you have written a program called as a sample.py. In this sample.py, whatever the code you have written, you want to reuse that entire code on top of your other DAGs. For example, I am going to create the one more DAG. In this DAG also, I want to use the same code. And I'm going to create one more DAG, for example. In this DAG also, I want to use the same code, whatever we are having in the sample.py. Indirectly, as per the requirement, whatever the code we are having in the sample.py, I want to reuse the same code in the multiple DAGs. So for that reason, whenever you want to reuse the code from one Python file to other Python files, in that situation, what we can do here, simply we are going to apply the concept called as a custom module. With the help of the custom module concept, we can able to reuse the code from one Python program to other Python programs by depending on the requirement. If you see this example, in this example already whatever we discussed earlier, here we are using some modules, but these modules are given by the Airflow, and by using those modules we are writing all our program. But you tell me, in this module indirectly what they have written from the Airflow side? In this module from the Airflow side, what they have written? They have written the Python program only, but instead of writing the Python program from our side, Airflow written the program, which is nothing but Airflow created the modules. Those modules we are using as part of our program. But comment here what I'm telling, as part of custom modules, you are writing the code. You are reusing that code across multiple DAGs or across the multiple Python programs. So whenever we are having such kind of requirement, we are introducing the concept called as nothing but custom module. It's very simple. What we have to do here is, this is the structure we need to follow. See here, actually, if you remember, when we created the composer as part of running our DAGs, where we are uploading all our DAGs, if you remember, where we are uploading all our DAGs, we are uploading
GCS
Airflow
buckets.
Airflow GCS buckets, I can able to say. In the Airflow GCS buckets, we are uploading all the DAGs in the folder called as a DAGs folder. But if you remember, in the Airflow GCS buckets, other than DAGs folder, here we can able to see one more folder called as a script folder, or if you want, we can able to create the script folder separately. In this script folder, I will create a one more subfolder. In this subfolder, I am going to maintain all the reusable code, whatever you want. Okay. So in the GCS bucket, if you remember earlier, we deal with the DAG folder. In the DAG folder, we are uploading all our DAG files. In the same way, just we need to create the one more folder in the GCS bucket called as a script folder. In this script folder, we are going to create the one more subfolder. In this subfolder, whatever the Python code you want to reuse, that entire code we are keeping in the subfolder. Here within this subfolder, whatever the code whatever the Python program you are putting, that Python program we are calling by using this statement. We are giving simply from script.subfolder. What is the meaning of script.subfolder? In our path script, within the script we are having the subfolder. From this subfolder, I want to call the program called as nothing but local module. In our requirement, our Python program name is nothing but sample. So I'm giving it as a sample here. Here also we have to give it as a sample. Only this is the line of code we can able to use across all our DAGs. For example, here in this DAG, I will put this line of the code. In this DAG also I will put this line of the code. In this DAG also I will put this line of the code. Indirectly, just we need to keep our entire script in a particular path. After keeping this script in a particular path, just we need to import that whole path within our DAG and so in our example, we are keeping our sample.py file in the path called as a script. Within the script, we are having the subfolder. In this path, we are keeping our sample.py file. In this file, we are having our reusable code. After putting this file in this path, what we have to do here, wherever you want to reuse that code, just we have to give it as a from script.subfolder import sample. What is the meaning of script.subfolder here? This is the path, which is nothing but in the GCS, whatever the path we are having, script, this is the one. After that, subfolder, this is the subfolder path. In this path, which file you want to use? You want to use the file called as a sample.py. For that reason, just we are given the statement called as a import sample. With this line of the code, what we can do in this DAG, we can able to use all the code which is present in the sample.py. Indirectly, instead of rewriting 1000 lines of the code in the DAG1.py or DAG2.py or DAG3.py and we are simplifying all the operations. For the purpose of simplifying this operation, just we are introducing the module called as a custom module. Now you try to give the answer. When we need to go for this custom module concept? When we need to go for this custom module concept?
If you want to reuse the
Simply we can able to say whenever you want to reuse the code across multiple DAGs by depending on the requirement. Whenever you want to reuse the codes across the multiple DAGs by depending on the requirement, then we need to use custom module. But tell me here, as part of custom module, are we doing any new activity? Nothing we are doing specially only. Just we need to prepare your Python script. Whatever the Python script you have prepared, that Python script we need to keep under the script and subfolder path. In this path, whatever the file we are keeping, that path just we need to call in our DAG file. In the DAG file, just we have to give it as a from whatever the folder you created. For example, here instead of subfolder, I am giving subfolder _1. Then what we have to do here, we have to give from script.subfolder _1 import sample. That is the way just we need to import the entire script, whatever the path we are giving. So with that, we can able to import the script in the each and every DAG file. With that, we can able to reuse all the code as part of our requirement. Now, if you go back here, here we are given the option called as a from airflow.providers.google.cloud.operators.dataproc. Any cases, what is the meaning of indirectly this whole statement? Internally, this is nothing but within the Airflow, we are having the folder called as a providers. Within the providers, we are having one more folder called as a Google subfolder. Within the Google folder, we are having the cloud folder. Within the cloud folder, we are having the operators. Within the operators, we are having the dataproc folder. So like this, internally, all these are having the folder structure like this. If you want to use this code or if you want to use this module, in our code, what I'm doing here, simply I'm giving the path, whole path here, but instead of giving the slash, just I'm giving it as a dot. In the same way, if you are going to keep your custom modules also, what we are doing here, just we are giving the path of your custom module. Instead of giving the script / subfolder, we are giving it as a script.subfolder. After that, we are giving import sample. In this sample, we can able to see whole the code. That code we can able to reuse across the multiple DAGs by depending on the requirement. So overall, we can able to say whenever you want to reuse any existing functionality, then we need to go for the custom module. Whenever you want to go for the custom module, we need to place our Python code in a particular folder path. That folder path we need to import into our required DAGs and so with that, simply we can able to reuse the code across the multiple DAGs by depending on the requirement. If you are going to follow this kind of approach, what will happen? Simply we can able to decrease code redundancy in our real-time projects. Instead of writing the same code across multiple Python files, and simply what we are doing here, decrease in the code redundancy. Redundancy is nothing but we can able to call it as a duplication. What I'm doing here, simply we are going to decrease the duplication of the code across multiple DAGs as part of our real-time projects by using the concept called as a custom module. Any questions up to here, please ask me. Any questions? Just I'm repeating, whenever you want to reduce the duplication of the code, or whenever you want to reduce the code redundancy, in such kind of situation within the Airflow, we are going to use the concept called as a custom module. With the help of the custom module, we can able to overcome the code redundancy, or we can able to call it as a code duplication. As part of this whole process, in the programming side, we are not doing any changes, and the only thing is nothing but whatever the code you want to reuse, that code we are keeping in a particular path. That path just we are calling within the DAG by using the statement called as a from statement. This is the way we can able to apply the custom modules by depending on our requirement. Okay. Now in the same way,
Sir, can we use this in real time?
yeah, we are going to use in the real. That's the reason only we are discussing. So all these
Rarely or daily?
rarely. So that's it. So in your project, whatever the code you are writing, if that code is kind of a reusable code, multiple across the multiple DAGs and then we can able to go for the custom module. But whatever the code you are writing, if that is not a kind of a reusable code, then do we need to go for custom module? It's not required. Okay. In some projects, we are going to see this kind of custom module concept. In some projects, we are not going to see the custom module concept, but better to have knowledge about this concept. For that reason, just we are discussing this concept as part of our class. Is it clear?
So for existing code only, we can use this.
Yes, correct.
Existing
code, and if that is the kind of a reusable code, multiple across multiple DAGs.
Yes, sir. This is there, right? In our Python code, we have that Airflow providers, Google Cloud operators. Yes. Is this already custom? If you want, ante manaki already unna path use chesukodaniki ఇది యూస్ చేస్తుంది.
కాదండి. So see, custom module is nothing but who is creating this path?
అది కాదు. అంటే already last time Python script lo.
Yeah. So this one. So this one, see, can be called as a custom module. What is the meaning of custom? If you are creating as a user, if you are creating any module, that we can able to call it as a custom module. But coming to this one, this module you are creating, or Airflow itself they are giving this one. Airflow itself they are giving all this kind of module. That's the reason this module we cannot able to call it as a custom module. This module we can able to call it as indirectly a kind of a Airflow module only. But if you are creating the module by depending on your requirement, that kind of module simply we can able to call it as a custom module. In our example, this sample.py program, who is writing? You yourself writing as part of your project, but your requirement is you want to reuse this Python program, or you want to reuse this code across multiple DAGs, and for that reason we are calling it as a custom module. If you want to use this custom module, we have to place it in a folder. That folder we are importing by using this whole from statement.
Then when we use Airflow created module, so
yeah, you want to tell me when we are going to use this one? When you are going to use this module? As part of your program, if you want to run any data proc jobs, or if you want to trigger any data proc workflows, in that situation, we need to go for this kind of module. And already we discussed about this module, but we haven't discussed about the custom module. That's the reason just I'm giving the overview about what is the meaning of custom module and what is the purpose of the custom module as part of our Airflow concepts. It's clear? Okay. Any other questions up to here? Okay. If no question, just I want to tell one more thing here. If you observe in our earlier programs, Andy, we given the schedule interval. As part of schedule interval, what we have given here, we given date time dot time delta of days is equal to 1. What is the meaning of the statement? If you remember, what is the meaning of the statement? Indirectly, we are scheduling our DAG as a daily job only. So whenever you want to schedule your job as a daily job, then we are given the schedule interval. In the schedule interval, just we can able to give it as a daytime dot time delta of days is equal to 1. With that, this DAG is running on the daily basis. Daily, how many times it will run? Only one time. Only one time this DAG will run in our Airflow. But here my requirement is, I want to trigger my DAG every day at morning 4 a.m. This is the one I want to specify. What is the requirement? I want to trigger my DAG every day morning at a particular time, which is nothing but morning at 4 a.m. I want to trigger. In this example, what will happen is, if you are going to give like this, Sunday, it is going to trigger at the midnight. So at 11:59, this job is going to trigger. But my requirement is I don't want to trigger the job at the 11:59 a.m. PM. My requirement is I want to trigger the job at morning 4 a.m. Or my requirement is I want to trigger job morning at 10 a.m. Or my requirement is I want to trigger job every Monday morning at 10 a.m. So this is the way I want to specify a particular time. Okay, not daily once. Every day morning at 4 a.m. I want to trigger the job, or every Monday I want to trigger the job, or every month on day 1 I want to trigger the job. So this is the way if you are having any kind of requirements, Andy, these kind of requirements we cannot able to handle directly by using the statement. Whenever you want to trigger the job at a particular time, what we have to define here is we need to define cron expression. So what we have to do here, we need to define a expression called as a cron expression. With the help of the cron expression, you can able to define when you want to trigger the job, at what time you want to trigger, at what minute you want to trigger. All this information we can able to define by using the expression called as a cron expression. So whenever you want to define daily at a generic time, we can able to give it as a statement like this. But if you want to trigger the job at a particular interval of the time, in that situation within the DAG, we have to define the cron expression. Now, if you want to define the cron expression, first we need to understand how to define cron expression. We need to understand how to define the cron expression. Just I will show you how to define the cron expression here. Just observe here only. If you see here, as part of cron expression, we are going to see the 5 stars only. First star is representing. So here you can able to see like this. In the cron expression, we are going to see 5 stars like this. Out of all these 5 stars, first star, sorry,
front up job, right?
Yes. So first star we can able to call it as a minute. Second one we can able to call it as a hour. Third one we can able to call it as a week. And next star we can able to call it as a year, sorry, month. And next one we can able to call it as a year. So this is the meaning of each and every star, Andy. So whatever the stars we are having, so as part of cron expression, you have to give the 5 star values. Out of these 5 stars, what I'm telling here, first star, otherwise I will show you this one here from here. See, out of 5 stars, first star is representing minute, second star is representing hour, next one is representing day of the month, next one is representing in which month you want to trigger, next one is representing the week. All this information we can able to see on top of your cron expression. Now, if you observe, we are given the 5, 4. What is the meaning of 5, 4 only? 4 is nothing but hour, 5 is nothing but minute, which is nothing but every day morning at 4, 5 a.m. I want to trigger the job. So by using all these 5 stars, you can able to handle the requirements by depending on your convenience, Andy. So for example, my requirement is every day morning at 4 hour, 5 minutes, I want to trigger the job. Then what we have to do here, in the first star, we are given the 5 minutes, and in the second star, we are given the 4, which is nothing but at 4, 5, this job is going to trigger. For example, my requirement is, I want to trigger the job at 10. Just here, we have to give it as a 10, 5. So if you have given the 10, 5, what is happening here? This job is triggering at the 10, 5. Like that, by depending on the requirement, we can able to define the cron expression by using all these stars only. But tell me here, where we have to give this value? Whatever the cron expression we are defining, this cron expression we need to provide within our DAG. So in the DAG, instead of giving this, just we have to give like this only. Just pause within the double quotes. So within the DAG, whatever the schedule interval parameter we are using, in this schedule interval parameter, instead of using it as a days is equal to 1, just we are going to provide the cron expression like this. Now you tell me, are we going to create the separate job here, or within the DAG only we are doing this modification? Within the DAG only, you can able to perform this kind of modification. Whenever you want to trigger the job at a particular interval of the time within the day, then we need to define the cron expression. As part of defining the cron expression, we need to give the total 5 star values. Out of these 5 stars, first star is representing minute, second star is representing hour, next one is representing day of the month, next one is representing month value, next one is representing our day of the week only. By using all these values, what we can do here, we can able to define the cron expression. For example, my requirement is every month on the day 1, I want to trigger the job at 10:05 a.m. For example, my requirement is trigger job every month, day 1 at 11:05 a.m. This is the requirement. Now you tell me how to define the DAG expression here. I want to trigger the job every month, day 1 at 11 a.m. Every month on day 1 only, I want to trigger the job at 11:05 a.m. and D. So whenever we are having that requirement, so coming to 11:05 is nothing but 5 is a minute. What is the hour? We have to give
11.
11, and coming to day here, we have to give it as a 1. Instead of giving the star, we have to give it as a 1. If you see here, if you are given the 1, what is happening here? It is taking the value as a 2023 10:01. Every month on the first day, it is going to trigger this job automatically. But if I'm given the star, what's happening? If I'm giving star, it is taking the current day and D. But my requirement is every month on the day 1 only, I want to trigger the job. In that situation, just we have to give day value as a 1. If I'm given the day value as a 1, what will happen here? Every month on the day 1, this job is going to trigger. With that, it is going to perform our job execution as part of our airflow. This is the way we need to define the cron expression. Now, for example, trigger job every month on day 5 at 1 p.m. Then what we have to do? Every month, day 5 at 1 p.m. I want to trigger the job. Then what we can do here? Same thing, Andy. But if you want to give the 1 p.m. here, just to give it as 13. And here give it as every month, 5th day I want to trigger. So we are giving it as a 5. If I'm giving the 5, what's happening here? It is taking it as a 10:05 Andy. After completion of the 10:05 run, next time when it is going to trigger, we are given the cron expression like this. If I'm going to give the cron expression like this, on 10:05, 1 p.m., this job is going to trigger. Next time again, when this job is going to trigger? Again, next month, which is nothing but in the November 5th, again, this job is going to trigger because we are specifying the cron expression as every month on a particular day, you want to trigger the job. And for that reason, what is going to happen? This job is going to trigger again on the next month, 5th. But your requirement is every day morning, every day afternoon at 1 p.m., you want to trigger the job. Now, you tell me, what is the modification we need to perform in this one? Every day at 1 p.m., I want to trigger the job. Then what is the modification we need to perform here?
Remove that 5.
Remove 5,
star. If I'm given the star, what's happening here? It is taking the current date. Every day at this particular time, this job is going to trigger. Like that, just by depending on your requirement, you have to define the cron expression. And by using this cron expression, we can able to provide all the information. Now, for example, if you are getting confusion, how to give cron expression. So to resolve this only, we are having this portal. So by using this portal, so whatever the portal I'm showing you here, Andy, by using this portal, you can able to understand how you need to define the cron expression. 1 second. So just I'm keeping this this URL in our notes, Andy. After completion of the class, when I'm going to share this notes, please go to this URL. In this URL, you can try whatever the cron expression you want to give, just to take the requirement from yourself only. Every day morning at 1 a.m. how to give it. Every day afternoon at 5 p.m. I want to trigger, how to give it. Just to prepare the requirement yourself. Based on that, you can able to give all the cron expressions, because why we are discussing this one is in the real time. Most of the times we are going to use cron expressions to define the job interval, and as part of interviews also they will ask how to define the cron expression. That's the reason just we are discussing this topic, Andy. But all these are very, very simple topics. That's the reason just I'm not showing you practically. So the only thing is nothing but here we need to understand how to define the expression. Once you can understand how to define the expression, just what we have to do here, same expression we are going to keep in our DAG. Whatever the DAGs we discussed earlier, Andy, in that DAG, just you have to remove the previous line. Instead of giving the previous line, just what we are doing here, we are going to give it as a cron expression. Once we are going to provide the cron expression like this, what will happen? With the help of this cron expression, it is going to schedule the DAG jobs on top of your airflow. With that, your job will trigger on the daily basis by depending on your cron expression. This is the way simply we can able to understand how to define the cron expressions as part of our requirements. Okay. Now just what I will do here is, now try to give the answer. What is the meaning of this cron expression? Just try to give it. I am given the 5, 10,
10 hour,
star,
5
star,
minutes.
star, which is
10 hour, 5 minutes every
Every
hour,
day.
5 minutes.
every day or alternative day.
Every day.
Say every day, and so which is nothing but if I'm given the 5, 10, just will type here again. I'm giving 5:10. What is the meaning of 5:10? Every day morning at 10:05, this job is going to trigger. So no need to buy out anything here, Andy. Just to open this URL. In this URL, just to type something, some values here. By typing the values, you can able to understand what is the meaning of the cron expression. Generally, people are thinking defining cron expression is very difficult, but it is very simple. When it is going to very simple, if you understand what is the meaning of each and every star here, first star is representing minute, second star is hour, third star is day of the month, fourth star is nothing but which month, and last star is nothing but what is the big day you want to trigger. For example, my requirement is every week on first day I want to trigger the job at 11:10. So this is the requirement, and then what we have to do? Every week on the day 1 of the week I want to trigger the job. So what we need to do? First one, we have to give the minutes. After that, we need to give the hours. I want to perform this operation on every day, but every day we need to specify the particular day of the week, and that's the reason in the 5th parameter we have to give it as a 1. If I'm given the 1, what will happen on the day 1 of the week? It is triggering the job at the 11:10. So in the real time, if you are going to work on it, we are going to see the daily jobs, or we are going to see weekly jobs, and we are going to see the monthly jobs also. So by depending on the type of the job you want to define, just we have to define the cron expression. Based on the cron expression, you can able to define the daily jobs, or we can define the weekly jobs, or we can able to define the monthly jobs also by depending on the requirement. Now overall, you try to give the answer. What is the purpose of the cron expression in the DAG? What is the purpose of cron expression in the DAG?
Scheduling the
The
job.
purpose of defining the schedule. Just is again one of the entry question only. What is the purpose of cron expression in job? You can able to simply to define scheduling of your job. We can go for cron expression. And how you are going to write the cron expression? We have to use the 5 stars. And in the 5 stars, we have to specify based on the requirement. You have to give the minute or day or month of the day of the month, or we have to give the day of the week. By using those values, we can able to specify the cron expression. With that, we can able to trigger the jobs as part of our airflow. This is the way simply we can able to understand what is the purpose of the cron expression. In the same way, just we need to understand one more last concept only, which is nothing but DAG dependency. So don't ask me, sir, why we are not discussing all these things practically. Already I closed my composer environment. That's the reason I'm not discussing all this practically, but it is very easy to understand. At the same time, if you want, you can able to perform the practice your own also. And whatever the DAGs we discussed in this DAG, just to remove this one and just to provide your cron expression. So with that, what will happen? You can able to run the jobs, or you can able to perform your practice instead of creating the environment one more time. Just I'm explaining all these topics as a theoretical topics. Okay. In the same way, we need to understand what is the DAG dependency. Any guesses by seeing the name? What is the meaning of DAG dependency? For example, we are having DAG 1 and we are having DAG 2. Now in this DAG 1, you are having task 1, you are having task 2, and you are having task 3. And coming to DAG 2, you are having task 4, task 5, and task 6. Okay. Now earlier we discussed about the multiple DAG executions, but all those DAGs are kind of a independent DAGs only. Now here my requirement is like this. I want to trigger DAG 2 only when task 2 completed in DAG 1. Just observe here, I want to trigger the DAG 2, but when you want to trigger the DAG 2 here, only when task 2 is completed in the DAG 1, then only I want to trigger the DAG 2 only. If you observe here, this task 2 is presented where? In the DAG 1. Now, after completion of this task 2 in the DAG 1, then only I want to trigger the DAG 2 as per my requirement. Indirectly here, what we have to do? We need to define dependency within the DAG, or we need to define the dependency outside of the DAG.
Between the DAGs.
Outside of the DAG.
We need to define the dependency outside of the DAG and D. In the previous examples we discussed about within the DAG, after giving all these tasks, we are giving it as a simply task 4, then we are giving task 5, then we are giving task 6. Okay, this is the way just we define the dependency within the DAG. But now my requirement is I want to define the dependency outside of the DAG, and which is nothing but to trigger the DAG 2, there is the dependency on the DAG 1. Indirectly, this DAG 2 is depending on the DAG 1. I can able to say DAG 2 is depending on DAG 1 related task. So if you want to define the dependency here, indirectly we are going to define the DAG dependency. We need to define DAG dependency. Now for the purpose of doing this operation also, here we are having one more sensor operator. By using one of the sensor operator, we can able to perform this operation. Now this is the sensor operator which we can able to use to achieve this requirement. See, what is the purpose of sensor operator? If you remember earlier, we discussed about this. Earlier, we discussed about I want to verify whether file is landed into the GCS bucket or not, which is nothing but as part of using the sensor operator, it is going to the particular bucket. In the bucket, it is performing sensoring operation. With that, if file is available, then only it is going to trigger the other job only. That is the purpose of the file sensor operator, which we discussed in the previous class. But now what is my requirement? I want to do the sensor operation, but I want to do the sensor operation on the other DAG, which is having one more task only. Now for the purpose of doing this operation, here we are having the one more sensor operator called as a external task sensor operator. With the help of this operator, we can able to define the task dependency which is present in the one more DAG. With that, we can able to achieve the requirement. Very simple here. If you want to define the multiple DAG dependencies, or if you want to define the dependency between one DAG to other DAG, and what we have to do here, simply we are going to use the concept called as a sensor operator. But here, instead of calling it as a sensor operator, I'm calling it as a task sensor operator. Earlier we discussed about file sensor operator. Now in the same way, here we are trying to discuss about the task sensor operator. With the help of the task sensor operator, you can able to achieve this requirement. Now as part of using the task sensor operator, we are using the operator called as a external task sensor. This is the operator which we are going to use. In this operator, we need to pass all these variables and the first variable task ID. Any guesses what is the meaning of task ID?
Task name.
It's nothing but task name only. So which is nothing but for every task we have to give a particular name. In that task ID, just we are going to specify the task name. Okay. After that, if you see, we need to pass the two variable names here. First one is nothing but what is your external DAG ID. Next one is nothing but what is your external task ID and now as part of this requirement, what I want to do here, DAG 2 is depending on the DAG 1 for that reason. In the DAG 2, I will define below task. So see here, DAG 2 is depending on the DAG 1 or DAG 1 is depending on the DAG 2 here. DAG 2 is depending on the DAG 1 for that reason. In the DAG 2, I am going to define the task like this. And this is the task variable. This is the task name. Now for this one, I need to give the external DAG ID. For example, my DAG name is DAG 1. So I'm giving it as a simply DAG 1 here. Otherwise, just I will copy this. Here we need to give it as a DAG 1. This is the DAG ID and whatever the DAG ID you have given, that is the name we have to provide in the external DAG ID. Now you tell me here, in this example, here we are defining the DAG object. Now tell me what is the DAG ID here in this example. DAG ID is nothing but our script name or whatever the value which we are giving in the DAG object. Whatever the name which we are giving in the DAG object, that value we can able to call it as a DAG ID. Don't get the confusion, Andy. So this is a script name. This script name is not equivalent to your DAG ID. Within the DAG object, whatever the value we are giving, that value we can able to call it as a DAG ID. That DAG ID value we are giving as input to the external task DAG ID here. Now, as for our example, what is my DAG name here? DAG 1. For that reason, here I'm giving the DAG ID is nothing but DAG 1 Andy. Now, what is the external task ID? What is the task ID we need to provide here? As part of this example, task 2 is depending on the this one. So for that reason, just we have to give it as a task 2, which is nothing but in that DAG 1. After completion of the task 2, then only I want to trigger my DAG 2 only. Now in the DAG 2, other than this task, for example, I am having these tasks also. So now in the DAG 2, we are having task 4, task 5, task 6. Other than all these tasks, we are having the one more task also like this only. Now you tell me in the DAG 2, how we are going to define the dependency? Any guesses? in the DAG 2, we are having task 4, task 5, task 6. At the same time, we are creating the one more task. With the help of this task, what we are doing here, we are defining the dependency between the DAG 1 to DAG 2. After defining this task in the DAG 2, now we need to provide the dependency here in this DAG. What is the dependency we need to provide? Any guesses?
DAG1 dot
DAG
task
1.
2.
DAG 1, or we need to give this one? This is the
Okay.
DAG variable, right?
Task.
So this is the one we need
Okay.
to give. After that, we need to give greater than, then give it as a task 4, then give it as task 5, then give it as task 5, and then give it as task 6. So this is the way you are going to provide the dependency within the DAG 2. Now indirectly, what is the meaning of this one? It is going to trying to execute the DAG task called as a wait for child task only. Now in this task, what it will do here? It is waiting for your DAG 1 task 2 completion, because here we are using the sensor operator. For that reason, it is going to wait for whether in the DAG 1 task 2 is completed or not. After completion of the task 2 in the DAG 1, then only what is going to happen? This task will complete. After completion of this task, then it is going to trigger the task 4 and task 5 and task 6 only. This is the way you can able to define the dependency between the multiple DAGs. Very simple. Whenever you want to define the dependency between the multiple DAGs only, in that situation, we need to use the operator called as a external sensor operator. With the help of the external sensor operator, you can able to define the dependency between the multiple DAGs. Now, for example, my requirement is in the DAG 1, I need to wait for task 1 and task 2 completion. Then what I need to do? I need to wait for in the DAG 1, task 1 has to complete and task 2 also has to complete. Then only I want to trigger the DAG 2 task only. That is my requirement. Then what we have to do? Any guesses?
We need to
We
write
need to
one
add
more
external
external.
task.
No
One
need
more
to write one more thing. So here what we can do is just give it as a
Okay.
within the brackets, give
Bracket,
it as
task
task
2,
1, comma,
Task.
task 2. So far we discussed about only one task dependency between the multiple DAGs only. But for example, if you are having the requirement for multiple task dependency between the two different DAGs, then what we can do here? Simply we need to pass the multiple task names within the parameter here. So with that, it is what is the meaning of the statement? In the DAG 1, it is verifying for task 1 completion and also task 2 completion. If both are going to complete, then only it is going to trigger the task 4, task 5 and task 6 only. This is the way you need to define the DAG dependency between multiple DAGs by depending on the requirement. Simply we can able to say.
So then what about the task 3?
What about?
Task 3.
Which task 3 only? This
After-
task 3 is present in the DAG 1, right?
Yes.
See, in the DAG 1, you are having the dependency like this. Task 1, task 2, and task 3. This is the DAG 1. Okay, so in this DAG, we are having the dependency like this. Now coming to DAG 2, we are going to define the dependency like this after giving all these things. Okay, now tell me, we are going to trigger both the DAGs. Both DAG 1 and DAG 2 at morning 10 a.m. Now you people try to give the answer here. How both the DAGs are going to trigger after giving all these kind of dependencies. Both DAG 1 and DAG 2, we are triggering at morning 10 a.m. for example. Now at 10 a.m. what will happen? Your DAG 1 is running within the DAG 1 and coming to same 10 a.m. DAG 2 also triggered. At a time, both are triggering. Okay. Now my question here is, here task 1 completed. Now after completion of this task here, whether this task will trigger or this will complete or it is waiting for the task 2 also here. In the DAG 2, what we did here, we given the dependency for both task 1 and task 2 only. For that reason, this task is going to wait for till the completion of task 1 and task 2. Now, for example, task 1 completed and task 2 also completed. Then only what will happen after completion of task 1 and task 2 in the DAG 1, then this task will complete here. Once this task is going to complete here, what will happen? It will trigger the task 4 and coming to here after completion of task 2, what will happen immediately? it will trigger the task 3 also. And after that, it is going to complete the task 3 completion also, because DAG1 is not having any dependency on the DAG2. Only DAG2 is having the dependency on the DAG1. For that reason, till the completion of task 1 and task 2, your wait for child task is waiting. Once the task 1 and task 2 is going to complete, then what will happen here? In the DAG2, this task will trigger, it will complete. After that, it will trigger the task 4, and it will trigger task 5, and it will trigger task 6. This is the way your jobs are going to run once we are going to give all these kind of dependencies. But tell me, in this whole story, whether DAG1 is depending on the DAG2 or DAG2 is depending on the DAG1.
DAG2 is
DAG2
dependent.
DAG2 is depending on the DAG1 and D, which is nothing but in the DAG1, all these tasks are running one by one without checking any other information. But in the DAG2, this task is going to verify the status of your task 1 and task 2 in the DAG1. After completion of those 2 tasks only, it is going to trigger the task 4 and task 5 and task 6. This is the way you need to define the dependencies as part of our requirements. Okay. Any questions again up to here? Please ask me.
So if you
So
directly write for the DAG2 to DAG1 dependency, instead of this external task ID, only DAG ID we need to give, sir.
Yes, correct.
Sir, in the task 5 or 6 only, depending on the task 1. So in this case, in the second DAG, task 4 will execute parallelly, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
See, both the DAGs are independent. Now, for example, just I will give you the I will change like this. You try to give the answer. What will happen? I am giving task for first here. I think someone is asking a question like this. Now tell me, if I'm going to define the dependency like this, what will happen? This is the dependency. In the DAG2, for example, I am given the dependency like this instead of like this, and I'm giving the first task 4, then I'm given the wait for child task, then I'm given the task 5, then I'm given the task 6. Now tell me, what is the meaning of this statement in this example?
Task
Once
Task
we are
1,
execute
task 2
complete
has
first.
to finish and task 4 has to finish. Then only.
Yeah, so see here. Now tell me, at morning 10 a.m., task 1 and task 4 will trigger at a time, or task 4 is going to wait for the DAG1 execution?
At a time.
It will at a
It
time,
will trigger
parallel.
at a time, because the task 4 is not having any dependency on the wait for child task. And for that reason, at 10 a.m., DAG1 will trigger, DAG2 also will trigger. In the DAG1, task 1 will complete immediately based on the code, whatever you have written. Here also what will happen? Your task 4 also will trigger, and also it will complete only. But now tell me, this task is waiting for what?
Task
Wait for
2
child task.
or
It is
1,
waiting
yeah.
for how many tasks? Try to give the answer. 1 or
2
2 or
tasks.
3.
2
We have
tasks.
task 1 and task 2.
Only
3,
task 1 and task 2.
4 also.
It
The
is
task 4
waiting for
also.
total 3 different tasks, because
Yeah,
within
task 4
the
also.
within the sensor operator, you given the task 1 and you given the task 2. It is waiting for task 1 and task 2, and also here we given the dependency for the task 4 also. For that reason, indirectly in this example, it is waiting for task 1, task 2, and also task 4. After completion of all these tasks only, it is going to trigger this task as part of our execution. Just for understanding, I will say it is waiting for task 1, task 2, and task 4 also. But in this example, it is waiting for only task 1 and task 2. This is the way you need to understand. Based on the place wherever you are keeping this sensor task, and with that, it is going to change the dependencies automatically. With that, your job is going to trigger as part of our execution. Any question on top of these 2 examples? Again, please ask me here.
So how much time it will be wait, or that also we need to mention in the external only?
Yeah, if you
Here.
remember, as part of discussing file sensor operator,
Yes.
we discussed about few concepts called as a retry,
Retry
and we discussed about one more thing
work
called as a timeout. We discussed about timeout already. So same information we can able to define in the external task answer also. Timeout is nothing but how much time you want to verify that operation. Retry is nothing but how many number of times you need to verify whether task is completed or not. That kind of information we can able to specify by using these 2 variables only. Instead of complicating this, just I given the only few variables here. But if you are having any such kind of requirement, you can define the retry variable within the sensor operator. You can define the timeout variable within the sensor operator. With that, you can able to re-verify multiple times on top of your task, and you can able to specify how much time you want to wait for the task completion. All that information we can able to give by using the retry variable and timeout variable within our sensor operator.
Is this mandatory, sir, or shall we wait until?
No, if you are not going to give the timeout, what will happen? For example, your task 1 is completing after around 5-6 hours. then what will happen? It is waiting for till 5-6 hours only. But your requirement is at 10 a.m. you trigger the job. By 10:30, you need to trigger your DAG2. That is the SLA. Actually, in the real time, if you are going to work in the real time only, for every job, we are going to have the particular SLA. Now, my requirement is we are triggering the DAG2 at 10 a.m. By 10:30, this DAG need to complete, but this DAG is waiting for the other task execution. But the task is taking the 5 to 6 hours of time. Indirectly, it will complete after 5 hours, which is nothing but either 3 or 4 p.m. it will complete, which is nothing but we are crossing SLA. Now, to monitor this or to overcome this issue, we have to define timeout interval. See, for example, if you don't have any kind of SLAs and it, then no need to specify the timeout, no need to specify the retry. You can able to leave it as a blank. But if you are having any kind of SLAs at this particular time, I want to complete this job, or at this point of time, I want to trigger the job. Whenever we are having such kind of particular SLAs in the project, in the situation, we are going to define the timeout and we are going to define the retry variables on your sensor operator. Whenever we are not having any such kind of requirements only, then no need to define the retry, no need to define the timeout. Everything is depending on the requirements as part of our projects. Is it clear? Okay. Any other questions, Steve?
Sir, SLA is nothing but
It's a service level agreement.
service.
Level agreement.
Okay.
For example, you are having the DAG1 to load data into policy summary table. And I'm having DAG2 to load data into, for example, claim summary table. And I'm having DAG3, for example, to load data into agency summary table. Just assume that we are having 3 different DAGs and every DAG is loading the data into the summary tables like this. Now, my client requirement is they given the SLA like this. SLA for this job is morning at 11 a.m. It need to complete. For this one, morning at 12 a.m. it need to complete. And for this one, for example, at 1 p.m. it has to complete, which is nothing but for every job in the real time we are going to see the SLAs, and the SLA is nothing but service level agreement. We are taking some kind of agreements with the client team by what time they are expecting to complete this job. So they are going to define all the SLAs for each and every job in the real time project. So which is nothing but this job by when it need to complete by 11 a.m. and why we are defining all these kind of SLAs? Why we need to define SLAs in real-time projects? Just observe. Now, if you remember, what is our data warehouse architecture? We are having the ODS. On top of ODS, we are building our staging database. On top of staging database, we are going to build the data warehouse. On top of that, we are going to create the views. On top of that, we need to create the reports. And on top of the reports, our end users are going to perform the analysis. So this is our normal data warehousing architecture. Now coming to BigQuery, what is the architecture we discussed? It is similar to this one only, but there we discussed about first we are going to have the landing zone. On top of landing zone, we are going to have the confirm zone. On top of that, we are going to have the semantic zone. On top of that, we are going to have the visualization zones. On top of that, our end users are coming into the picture. This is the terminology we are using in the BigQuery, but indirectly you can able to see both are nothing but same only. Now all the summary tables we are maintaining in the semantic zone. For example, in the semantic zone, we are having all the summary tables. Now, for example, on top of my policy summary table, my business people will do analysis every day at 11:30 a.m. Just assume that. So this is the statement only. On top of our SZ or on top of the semantic zone, we are having all the summary tables. Now on top of this policy summary table, my business people are going to perform the analysis every day morning at 11:30 a.m. Every day morning at 11:30 a.m. If business people want to do the analysis on top of this table, by what time we need to complete the data loads in this one? At 11:30, business people are going to perform the analysis on top of your policy summary data. If business people want to do the analysis on top of this data by 11:30 a.m., by what time we need to complete the data loads, Sandy? You can able to say before 11:30 a.m. we need to complete the data loads. And this only simply we are calling it as a SLA, because by this time we need to complete the data loads. Then only our business people can able to perform the analysis as part of our real-time projects. For that reason, for each and every job in the real time, we are going to have the SLAs and so that SLA is nothing but service level agreement. Based on the SLA, we need to monitor whether job is completing on time or not. Now you tell me, in the real time, who will monitor whether jobs are completing on time or not? Any guesses? In the real time, so we are defining all these DAX in the airflow. In the airflow, your jobs are running. Now, who is going to monitor all these jobs in the real time projects?
Support team.
As a data engineer, you are going to perform this activity, or our support team will perform this activity? Can I able to say
Supporting.
this team will do this activity? So all these are some basic things we need to understand as part of our job scheduling in the real-time projects. Andy, once we are going to define the DAX and everything in the airflow, who is going to monitor your jobs? Andy, your support team will come into the picture. Your support team is going to monitor whether all the jobs are running properly or not, whether any job is failed or not. If any job got failed, why it got failed, all those kind of monitoring activities will be taken care by your support team. And again, one more question here. Whose responsibility to take care of SLAs for job execution in real time? Whose responsibility is it is?
We are.
I can able to say again, just I'm giving the both the options here. I can able to say again. Your support team only will take care of that activity also. Now you can able to
But
get the question.
initial days we need to do, or from the day one also?
That's the one I'm only telling, Andy. So just
Okay.
wait for a few minutes, okay? So coming to support team, they are going to verify whether we are reaching the SLAs or not, and support team only is going to monitor whether your jobs are running properly or not. But here, if you observe, during deployment state of the project, as a data engineer, it is your responsibility to monitor the jobs and to verify the SLAs, which is nothing but you are deploying all jobs into prod on January 1st, 2023. Okay, for example, on January 1st, 2023, you deployed all the jobs into the prod and now don't think that immediately your support team will not do monitoring for these jobs. So what is going to happen in the real time? Immediately your support team will not come into the picture, because first time we are deploying all the jobs into the production environment. Once we are deploying all the jobs into the production environment, for example, on January 1st, 2023, immediately your support team will not come into the picture. And what will happen here is, as a development team or as a dev team, you need to perform monitoring activities for 1 week or 10 days in real time. See here what we are doing. After deploying all our jobs into the production environment, as a developer, you need to monitor whether all your jobs are running properly or not, and you need to monitor all the jobs are completing within the SLA or not. Now, for example, continuously 10 days, all jobs are running without any issues, and all jobs are completing within SLA. What it means indirectly? Indirectly, we can able to say your application is in stabilized mode. Then what will happen? Then we are handovering it to our support team. Don't think that from the day one onwards only our support team is going to take care of all these things. And what will happen in the real time? As a development team, you are going to deploy all the jobs into the production environment. Once we are deploying everything into the production environment, as a development team, for 1 week or 10 days, you need to monitor whether all the jobs are running properly or not, and you need to verify whether all the jobs are completing within the SLA or not. For example, for 10 days, all the jobs are running properly. At the same time, all the jobs are completing within the SLA, which is nothing but your application is in the stabilized stabilized mode. Once it is in the stabilized mode, then what we will do here? We are handovering this application to our support team. Then support team will come into the picture. As a support team, what they will do here? They are going to monitor the jobs on the daily basis as part of our real-time projects. Now, for example, as part of monitoring, support team observe few failures. Then what they will do? Any guesses? As part of monitoring, support team observed few failures on the February 5th, for example. On February 5th, they found some failures. And what they will do here? As a support team, what they will do here is they will try to fix the issues if it is minor. If it is a kind of a minor issue, only what they will do here, as a support team, they themselves are trying to fix the issues as part of our real time. Now, for example, if issue is major, then what will happen? Any guesses? Your job got failed on the February 5th and issue is major. Then what will happen?
They
Now,
will raise the
They
dispute.
support
should
team
contact the
will reach out to dev team.
Data
So what will
engineers.
happen? So simply as a support team, they are going to reach out to the dev team. Now, as a dev team, you need to verify why job got failed, and if requires, you need to perform the fixes also. So this is the cycle we need to follow as part of our real time. Again, I'm repeating, all these are not comes under the airflow topic, but all these are comes under the job scheduling related activities from the real time perspective. As a developer, after 10 days of monitoring, we are handovering everything to the support team. Support team is going to take care of your job monitoring, and support team is going to take care of your SLA activities. Now, for example, as part of monitoring, if your jobs are failing for any reason, first support team is trying to perform some basic analysis. If it is a kind of a minor issue, what they will do here, they are going to perform the fixes in the real time. But instead of minor issue, if it is a kind of a major issue, then what will happen here? They are going to fix the issues as part of our they are going to reach out to the development team. As a development team, you need to analyze the issue. With that, you need to perform the fixes in the real time. This is the cycle we need to follow as part of our real time projects. Okay. Any questions on out of all these things? Please ask me again here.
Sir, can we give same time to two different jobs?
Yeah, we can do the same time.
Um,
See, in the real time, at a time, we can trigger hundreds of jobs. But when we can able to trigger at a time, if there is no dependencies. If there is no dependencies between the jobs, then automatically what we can do here, you can able to trigger multiple number of jobs by depending on your requirement as part of your real time. Don't think that job one is running on the 10 a.m. So we need to give the job to only at the 11 a.m. We are not having any such kind of things. Only you can able to define the multiple jobs also at the same time. But only thing is nothing but there should not be any dependency between the both the jobs. With that, you can able to define the two jobs execution at a particular time by depending on our requirement. Is it clear?
So schedule
Sir, one
interval
question.
time depends on the SLA, right, sir?
Yes.
SLA time.
Yes.
And
See,
that
for
is the
example,
default keyword, sir.
See, for example, my SLA
Yeah.
time is at 11:30. Now we need to give our schedule interval time as 11:30, or we need to give any other value. Try to give the answer for this one only.
Before.
I am
Before
given
to
the
that.
my SLA time for the job is 11:30. Now in the tag for the schedule interval, we need to give the time as 11:30, or we need to give the any other value. What is the meaning of 11:30 in the schedule interval? At 11:30, it will
30,
trigger the
11.
job. Okay.
Hmm.
But what is the meaning of SLA? By
Ending
11:30,
time.
this job should has to complete. Now, for example, for your job execution, you know how much time it is taking. It is taking, for example, half an hour time to complete your job execution. Then what we have to do here? We need to give it as, for example, 10:30. Why we
So
need to
how
give the
to-
10:30? Because
We need
to
some-
give the some 30 minutes as a kind of a buffer time only.
Buffer
So we are given the buffer time for the 30 minutes. At 10:30, you are given the job scheduling. 10:30, your job will trigger. By 11, it will complete. Sometimes what will happen if file is coming bit late, or if any issues are happening, so sometimes your job will delay. For that reason, we are giving the 30 minutes or 1 hour buffer time. Accordingly, we are going to define the schedule interval. Don't think that SLA time and schedule interval both are not same only. SLA is nothing but by what time you want to complete the job as per the agreement. Schedule interval is nothing but at what time you want to trigger the job. That is the difference between the SLA and schedule interval. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Any other
And this is the
questions?
default keyword, sir. Schedule underscore
Yes,
interval.
yes, a default variable only. You see the
We should
tag.
use in the real time also. These all external Task underscore ID, schedule
Yes,
underscore interview.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, all those are the, so actually within the sensor variable, whatever the variables I mentioned, all these variables are nothing but the default variables only. By using those variables only, you have to define all the values in the real time also.
And
Sir,
giving
in
this time is based on the previous experience, we can schedule that time, right? Schedule underscore interval.
Yeah, based on the SLAs only. So as
Yeah.
we discussed just now.
SLA means a service level agreement, right?
Oh, no, yes.
So it is apply on the project level, right? On this
See,
level also.
it is applying at the table level as part of our data warehousing projects. In the data warehousing projects, for each and every table, we are having the different kind of end user. So one table, other people are using at the, for example, 11 a.m. And one more table, other people are using at the 11:30. In the data warehousing projects, for each and every table or for each and every summary table, we are going to have the different kind of the SLAs. Coming to project level also, we are going to have the SLAs. But here, whatever the SLAs we are discussing, all these SLAs are nothing but our job level SLAs, which we are discussing as part of our current session.
Got it, sir.
Okay. Yep.
In which
questions?
document we can see this description, sir? SLA, about SLA.
In the same requirement document.
Okay.
Whatever the requirement document we are getting, in that requirement documents, we are going to see the same SLAs information also.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions up to here?
Yeah, in the DAG one, we have the task 1, task 2, task 3, right, sir?
Yep.
So in the for one of the scenario, like task 1 completed successfully, it go to task 2. If it
Yes.
is failed, it go to task 3. How we will write the dependency on that, sir?
If it got failed,
If it is successful, go to task 2.
okay.
If task 1 failed, it will go to task 3.
Okay. So then within the task, we need to use some variables. So just you can able to refer the variables in the Google, you can able to see different variables. So for example, if it is success, what operation you want to perform? If it is fail, what operation you want to perform? So for this also we can able to see the variables. So by using those variables, you can able to define if it is success, go to the task 2. If it is fail, you can able to define go to the task 3. That kind of information also we can able to define by using the variables which are present in the operators.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions, Steve?
Yeah, if you're coming to last SLA, like is a failing, right, sir, in the analysis wise. So in the our deployment phase, around 10 days, we are maintaining that.
Yes.
So in the our 10 days, if it is failing, what type of actions we'll take?
Yeah, we need to fix all those things, right? So in the 10 days,
So
it is
like
failing.
it is a performance related, like it's a VMs we are increasing, or
That depends
like
on it. So
nodes.
that depends on the whatever the kind of issues you are seeing. Kind of issues. Okay, for example, if there is any code issues, what we'll do here, we are going to perform the code fixes. Okay, for example, if there is any performance issues, okay, and performance issue from the code level or from the infra level, we need to analyze that. If it is from the code level performance issues, we need to do the fixes on the code. But if there is any issue in the infra side, we need to do the fixes on the infra side. So first thing is that we need to analyze the issue based on the type of the issue. If it is a kind of a code issue, we are going to perform the code fixes. If it is a kind of a issue from the infra side, we need to increase the infra. So all these kind of things we need to perform based on our analysis. Okay, every time we cannot able to see the issue because of the infra or because of the code. We need to do the analysis based on the type of the analysis and based on the type of the issues which you are observing. Based on that, we need to do the fixes at the code level or we need to do the fixes at the infra level.
Okay, if it is keep on running the task, that log will be generated for that.
Yes.
Okay, from that only we can able to understand what is the issue.
Actually, if you remember earlier, I showed you. So whenever you want to see the DAG, whenever you want to see the log only, we need to go to DAG. Within the DAG, we can able to see. We need to click on the task.
Log.
Within the task, we can able to see the log. By using the log information, we can able to understand what is the issue, why it is success, and why it is failed, why it is continuously running. All that information we can able to see with the help of the log. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Just I want to
Thank you.
cover one more new topic only, one last topic in the airflow side, which is nothing but how many ways we can define dependencies. So far, if you remember, how many ways we define the dependencies, Andy? We are simply giving task 1 greater than task 2, and we are giving it as a task 3. So by using this, we are defining all the task dependencies, Andy. But if you want to define the dependency for this one, we can define the dependency like this also: task 3, task 2, and task 1. So see here, just I'm not doing anything, Andy. Just I'm reversing the operation. If you want, we can give it as a task 1 greater than is a kind. This instead of calling it as a greater than, actually we call it as a bitwise operator. Already we discussed about by using bitwise operator how we can able to define the dependency here. Task 1 greater than task 2, then greater than task 3, which is nothing but task 2 is depending on the task 1, task 3 is depending on the task 2 only. If you want, what we can do here, same information we can able to define like this also. Task 3 less than task 2 less than task 1. What is the meaning of this statement? Indirectly both are nothing but same only thing is nothing but either by depending on your convenience you can able to give it as like this, or we can able to give it as like this also by depending on our convenience only. In the same way here we are having the one more option. We are having the keyword called as a chain keyword. By using chain keyword we can give like this also. Task 1, task 2, task 3. So we are having the multiple ways to define the dependencies. Now, for example, if you can able to achieve the requirement by using this option, you can go ahead with this option only. But why we are discussing this statement here is in the interviews might be they will ask the question, what are the different ways we can able to define the dependencies? Only for that reason, just we are discussing in how many ways we can able to define the dependencies. First one, this approach by giving the greater than symbol. Second one, by using the less than symbol. Third approach, by using the chain keyword also we can able to define the dependencies. In the same way, we are having one more keyword called as a set IO string. Just I will show you that 1 second. If you observe here only, so what we are doing here, if you want, we can able to define it as a T0, T1, T2, T3. Same thing we can able to represent in the reverse way also. What is the reverse way here? T3, T2, T1, T0. Other than these two options, we are having the one more option called as a set downstream and set upstream only. By using this keyword also, we can able to define the dependency. What is the meaning of T0 dot set downstream of T1? Which is nothing but T1 is having the dependency on the T0. Second statement, T2 is having the dependency on the T1. T3 also having the dependency on the T2. But instead of typing these many number of lines, if you want to perform the simplified option, we can able to go for this approach. But just I'm trying to explain how many ways we can able to define the dependencies in our Airflow, either by using greater than operator or by using the less than operator. Otherwise, if you want, we can able to use the method called as a set downstream function, or we can able to use the set upstream function. By using any one of the approach, we can able to define the dependencies as part of our Airflow DAX. Okay. In the same way, if you observe, here see, by using chain also we can able to define the dependency, and within the chain, if you observe, what is the meaning of the statement? Any guesses?
Yeah.
This is the one of the example we covered as part of our previous DAG example.
Task
T0,
dependencies.
T0, T1 completed, then parallelly
Then
come to
T2,
Yes,
T3.
perfect.
T4.
T0 will complete, then T1 will trigger. After completion of
completed.
T1, then it is going to trigger the T2, T3, T4 in parallel. After completion of T2, T3, T4, then T5, T6, T7 will trigger. If you want to define all these kind of dependencies, we can define the dependencies by using above approach. Otherwise, by using the chain keyword also, we can able to define the dependency. And so just I will share this URL to you. By using this URL, you can able to understand in how many ways we can able to define the dependencies. At the same time, for every example, you can able to see the diagrams also like this. As part of this example, it is completing T0, then it is triggering T1. After that, it is triggering T4, T5, T6 in parallel. That is the way you can able to understand in how many ways we can able to trigger the task as part of our real time. Simply we can able to say, you can refer this URL, but here I can tell you that by using greater than, or by using less than, or by using set downstream, or by using set upstream, or by using chain. So like this, we are having the multiple ways only. But as part of interviews, try to give the answer. In your project, you are using any one of the approach. Don't try to give the answer. In our project, we are using all the approaches only. By using any one of the approach only, we are going to define the dependencies as part of our real time. That's the reason. Please try to specify as part of interviews. You are following either this approach or this approach or this approach only. But if you ask me, I can able to say in real time, mostly we are going to use this approach only. In real time, mostly we'll use this approach. Sorry? No, not yet. Sorry. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Online people, my voice is audible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
My screen is visible to you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now it is visible. Here it's not visible. Okay. Anyhow, class is completed, Andy. No, in the real time we are using the greater than. Whatever the things we discussed in the class, so that is the one only we are using in the real time. Okay. Okay, so these are some concepts we need to understand as part of our airflow only. So in the class is completed. Okay. So whatever the topics we discuss as part of today's session, so all these are the topics which we are going to use as part of our real time. So we discussed about the multiple topics. Just I will give the quick overview what we discussed, Randy. First one we discussed about what is the purpose of SCOM variables. After that we discussed about what is the purpose of the custom modules. Then we discussed about how we need to define the DAGs and we need to define the cron expressions. After that we discussed about how to define the DAG dependencies. Then we discussed about what is the SLA, what is the purpose of the SLA. After that we discussed about what kind of issues we are going to see in the real time, and after that we discussed about in how many ways we can able to define the dependencies as part of using our airflow DAGs. And all these are the topics we covered as part of our today's session. Don't think that, sir, why you are not covering all these in practicals. See, to cover all these things in the practical way, it will take very good amount of time. It will take 3 to 4 days of time. And already we discussed about the DAG examples by taking 3-4 examples in the previous classes. By depending on your interest, what you can do here, try to apply all these concepts by depending on the topics, whatever we discussed previously. Now you know about how to create compose environment. You know about how to create the DAGs. You know about where to place the DAGs. And you know about how to run the DAGs in Airflow. You know all these things. With this knowledge, what you can do, Andy, simply try to implement all the topics, whatever we discussed today. Your board. Okay. And my suggestion here is, if you understand theoretically, that is well and good, Andy. But if you want to do the practice, please try to implement all these topics by using your own hands, because you know how to create the compose environment, you know how to create the DAGs and where to place the DAGs, and you know everything. I given all the information, what operations we need to perform. With that, if you want, you can able to perform the practice your own. With that, you can able to get in detail knowledge about all these concepts. Okay. This is the way simply we can able to understand some pending topics on top of our airflow. Any questions again up to here, please ask me.
Sir, support team nothing but DevOps, right?
Sorry?
Support team means
no, not DevOps only. So we are having the L2 team. In the real time, we are having the support team, or we can able to call it as a L2 team. So they are going to perform this job monitoring activity. DevOps team responsibility nothing but they are going to deploy in the jobs only, or they are going to perform the kind of deployment activities, or they are going to take care of the infra related activities. Coming to here, for support team, we are having a separate team only. So they are going to monitor all the jobs are running properly or not. Any issues are there, they are going to fix all those kind of issues. We can able to call it as a L2 team, or we can able to call it as a support team as part of our real time.
okay, sir. Thank you.
Sir, can we write one like a DAG from the scratch, sir, in the class, like discussing the step by step, like where we are starting and ending, all this type.
No, already
So if you're seeing this, yeah, if you're seeing like we are taking existing one and explaining that, right? So with that, we are able to understand that.
Yeah.
But once
from your side, what you can do is you can able to type everything one by one. So if you want to go for one by one, it will take good amount of time, right? That's the reason only I taken the existing one. At the same time, I explain the same DAG 3-4 times by taking the section by section. Still, if you're expecting a kind of a line by line expression, it will take good amount of time.
Yeah.
So from your side, what you can do, you can type every line one by one by understanding. So with that, if you have any questions, I can able to provide the support to you to understand. But if I need to type everything, it will take good amount of time. That's the reason I'm telling that. Already I explained every session, first session, what is happening, second session, what is happening, third session, what is happening. We taken 3-4 examples. For all the examples, I discussed about how it is working and how we need to write the code. With that understanding, you yourself try to do that activity. With that, what will happen? You will get the hands-on experience. At the same time, you yourself can able to understand what is happening in every line. In that process, if you are getting any kind of questions, you can able to reach out to me. Then I can able to guide you, or I can able to give the answers for where you are getting any kind of confusions or where you are getting any kind of questions. That is the best way which I am thinking.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Any other questions?
Sir,
please.
In our example, we given dependency between two DAGs.
Yep.
But how can we give dependency between multiple DAGs like DAG1, DAG2, DAG3, like
Yeah,
that?
same thing only. So you have to define the multiple sensor operators. With that, you can define the
Can
multiple
you show me,
dependencies
sir?
and the this one, right? Now, for example, just you are going to create the one more sensor task. In this sensor task, we have to give, for example, here I'm giving DAG2. In this DAG2, on which task we are having the dependency, the task name we are going to provide. Okay. Now, in between these two tasks, we have to give the dependency again. This one. After that, we are giving this one. Now, what is the meaning of this one indirectly? First task is depending on the DAG1 and second task is depending on the DAG2. So like that, you can able to define the multiple sensor operators. With that, you can able to define the dependencies.
Okay, sir. Thank
you. Any other questions? Okay. And just I want to give one more thing on here. Whatever questions you are getting, just you can do practically. So someone is asking how to give the multiple DAG dependencies, right? So just you can try it in the practically. So with that, you can able to clarify your question. So just I explained the high level, but whatever the questions you are getting, just to try to do that activity practically. With that, you can able to get the clear picture. In that process, if you are getting any questions, you can able to ask me. I can able to provide the support. This is one thing. Another thing is, so today we are having the mock interviews only. Coming to offline people, I will take the mock interviews between 2 to 3. And coming to online people, whomever given it for online, for those people, I will take the classes mock interviews from 3 to 5 p.m. This is the schedule only. Offline people, in between 2 to 3, I will complete the interviews for offline people. I think around 6 people given the names, 5 to 6 people. I will take in the interviews for these people offline, afternoon 2 to 3. And coming to online people, I think around 8 to 9 people given. And for these people, I will try to take the mock interviews between 3 to 5. Our admin team will call you and they will share the link for these people. You can able to join that link. In that link, I will take the mock interviews.
Sir, is this the last mock?
Yeah, mostly this is the last one only. But if time permits, I will take the one more round of mock interview.
Yes,
Sir, use cases we are giving any other use cases, sir, as part.
Yeah, we'll discuss some use cases. Still, we need to discuss about the PubSub and those things, right? As part of discussing PubSubs and other things, we'll give the other use cases.
Okay. That time also this airflows, this also will come.
No, the airflow won't come. So I'm not going to create the airflow one more time.
No, not airflow. Creating the use case in the process of use case, we need to create airflow.
Yes,
right?
correct. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Simple thing. So from my side, I completed the airflow, but coming to next use cases, whatever we are going to discuss, for those use cases, if you want, you can able to create the airflow tag and you can able to perform the practice. For every use case, if I need to create the tag, what will happen? Our course will go for 70 days or 80 days. I will
not creating from your side, sir. If you are giving the assignment, like in the user
just I'm telling
case, then we will try
exactly,
for that one.
Exactly, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, if no question, that's all for today, Andy. So we'll meet you at the 11:45 session. Thank you.
Sir, I have one question, sir.
It's already 10:15, Andy. Otherwise, people are waiting. So we can discuss those questions in the next session. Is it fine?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.